Crypto Reality in the Bigfoot Researchers Journal is brought to you by Cannabis.com. Real, reliable, non-addictive pain relief. If you live in chronic pain, Cannabis.com can help. Visit the site today and find out how. That's it, baby.
Out here?
Doing all kinds of stuff like that out here, man. Eco-engineering, trying to keep them back. You know, they're constantly battling the brush to keep it away from the trails.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, keep it away from the trails is 90% of it, you know.
Yeah.
If they can't hide next to the trail. I mean. So, here we go. Long time, Mike.
So
Ready?
where are we headed?
We're gonna do a little hike on the trail, on the levee back here, along the pasture, and we're just gonna head down to the trail where I actually first time I ever seen one of these things was on this trail down here. We're gonna go down there,
cool.
and we're gonna keep a real close eye on what's going on the ground as we go, not just for tracks and stuff, but there's a lot of snakes.
Sure.
This particular place has snakes, man. So. They can be up on the trails. Usually that's like around 9:30 or 10 when the sun starts heating up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, so on the way out, that's when we really start watching. You know what I mean, for the snakes, because they'll come out in the sun,
Got my boots on.
try to digest whatever they've been eating. And then the other thing is inside this hole is where they stay. This is one of the places where they stay.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're on the trail, it's going to be over there walking. There's a bunch of cabbage palms that they removed right up by the trail. That's where we were catching them.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did was they just moved to the next available heavy cover. So you're going to see a huge row of saw palmettos all the way down. That's where we've been getting them. It's a long distance shot, you know, so you're looking at probably 100 yards or so. But she's seen them, had sightings of them paralleling us on the levee. Ducking in between and ducking down and watching us and all this. So we caught him on film.
That was wild. That was really wild that day.
More than likely, nothing's going to happen. We're not going to hear anything. We're not going to fucking see anything.
Right.
But they're here. And when I tell you that shit can change like that, and be like the most craziest shit you've ever even thought was possible, it can do that here. And it's done that many times for us here. So you go through a spurt where there's nothing, and sometimes it takes weeks of coming, and then, you know, for one reason or another, they just start doing shit. We don't know why. Maybe it's because they're in the back areas, and we're going to try a couple spots.
Well, they're definitely at the time when they cut down the saw palmettos over here. We were walking that trail, and that's the time I got hit by a rock or something, because it's like you could feel their aggression and anger about the area being messed with.
Yeah, they come in and they try to remove all the spots in the only places that they try to remove. And I honestly believe that some of these people are watching our films because they know the area. You'll see them out there. They'll come in FWC with their swamp buggies. You know, usually after we release a film with real good evidence in it, the buggies are here for a week. And the areas we've been catching them are burned.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, why is somebody cutting down the salt, you know, the palmetto palms? You know?
Well, I mean, they justify it as, you know, fire control. But
Yeah,
the
man.
reality, the reality of the situation is there's really not much to burn, and what they have been doing is burning green stuff and trying to burn the green stuff. They've been burning back in here since we started putting information out.
And it's
before
been
that, they weren't doing anything.
Sure.
And
it's
really,
just been interesting. It's the areas that we've experienced them.
Like Corbett, they don't burn out there.
Oh, they burn. But they burn in places that most people won't know.
Okay.
Yeah, like you guys, when you go out there. When I went out there my whole life, I go out there, and I go in the place. I'm not going out there to hang out on the fringe.
Yeah.
But that's where all the Sasquatch are, on the fringes.
Yeah.
Because everything we do pushes them to the edge, but it's because the game gets pushed to the edge. All you guys hunting in there and stuff, you wouldn't believe the amount of hogs and shit that are on the fringe.
Yeah.
Right on the fringe, man. You know, it's like, and that's where the thick, heavy shit is, you know. So Like I never would have believed in a million years there was anything out here or the Corbett area. I mean, I spent a lot of time out there, man. You know what I mean? Over the decades.
Nobody I know's seen anything out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
A lot of them are looking for it, and they think they, you know.
Yeah. The thing
they're a hunter.
the thing to understand is what we're dealing with is something that doesn't use weapons. And so every possible hunting strategy that you could come up with, if you didn't have any weapons, they've already mastered it, and they're physically capable beyond anything that most people can even comprehend.
Sure.
You know, so they're about power and speed and agility and observation. They know the area. Right now, this parking lot is being surveyed. We're being watched right now from somewhere in here, or it could be over there in that pasture. They watch, and you'll hear sometimes when we go in, the warnings start going.
Have you been lucky enough to
This kind
have
of
any
stuff.
tracks? Pick up any tracks?
They got
Thousands.
They got a bunch of tracks.
Thousands.
I want to see that.
Right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get you all set up with all that stuff, you know, once we get out of here today. But like I said, safety. Don't run off after anything. Whatever you do.
No.
I've made those mistakes. We don't need to do that stuff again.
Do what? Run up?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, this place in the daytime has a very different vibe than it does at night. At night, this place takes on a whole new feeling, and stuff starts happening pretty quick. So, you know, we'll do the daytime thing right now, and then maybe the next time we come, we'll do a nighttime thing, and we'll get out here during their shift. You know, because they take the night shift here.
That's
So.
the Seminole word for them. Estikapaki.
That is right. Yeah. So all right, so we're gonna go heading down the trail. So we're gonna go this way. Now there's a couple spots, and all the time, wherever you see any sand or dirt, because we've tracked them on this levee we're gonna walk on. Sometimes there'll be a juvenile. Got a track about this big, looks emaciated. It's human type track, but you'll see it's not a human track. I mean, it's like bone.
That's one of the
It's
four
bones, man.
you?
No, this guy's got a real exaggerated foot because it looks like it's like emaciated, like he's not eating all that good. But we pulled up one morning, got out of the car, and somebody ran off from the side of the levee. 2 legs, man, a dude. I'm like, are you hearing this shit? So we got out, and I put the audio recorder on, and we walked down in the basin. And we got right over here, and you can see where their little cabbage palms are.
Yep.
They were 15 feet high, man. There's a huge patch of them that runs 1,000 yards. They took them all out. As soon as we got up next to it, a small guy about this big took off running that way, screaming his head off.
He was
Talk about freaking
traumatized.
out. Yeah, dude, that freaked us out, man. Yeah, you got a lot of deer tracks around here. I usually like checking this little basin that they cut here, you know, where the water runs through when it floods. Because sometimes they'll come through these areas and you'll just pick up a 16-inch track or something, you know. But we found entire trackways out here with thousands of them. You know what I mean? 4 different people walking barefoot through the swamp, and their little baby with them.
Yeah.
Little 3-4-inch track.
This your new camera?
No, this is an old one. I got a new lens on here though.
I saw in that last video last week you had opened up a new camera. in the box.
Yeah, this is the troll killer here.
That's the lens. Actually, the lens piece, not camera.
Yeah, the lens. Yeah, this is a trip, man.
No, but she sent me she must have found it on Facebook or some National Geographic. Forensic scientists say Bigfoot is real, or they say there's too much DNA, hair sample, and evidence of something that exists that they don't know what it is, related to chimpanzee and human beings.
Yep. Wow.
Denied.
And they just came
We're
out with an
getting
article
there.
on National Geographic.
National
getting there.
Geographic did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it on my phone. I'll send it to you.
See, so when they get there, and then it's people like us with all the samples that they'll come to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
We're one of the few people in Florida that have all that DNA and hair. You know
It's
what I mean?
incredible. I watch you guys. I watch your stuff every day.
We'll be able to help validate them here. There's
Yep.
people in every state, pretty much.
It's
Isn't it nuts?
It's crazy.
yeah, like everybody sticks to the hiking trail. Everybody sticks to the
That's right.
what man made for them, and there's so much out there. That
Yeah.
I used to track through there all the time when I was, when I was single, had nothing better to do.
Right.
Babe, they got some. They took most of the brush pile from the island. That's
Yeah,
the
I
brush
see
pile
that.
right there. Those are the trunks of the saw palmettos and the cabbage palms that are all piled up right there.
Is that the other stack over there?
It was like an acre and a half, maybe 2 acre island.
And we'd be out here on days when you can hear something was going on, like the
Yeah, they're
the
like,
cows and the.
coming from the, you know. I start ripping off them big, and then they respond. I'm gonna wait though, because I want to get down in here at the crossroads, and we're gonna take a right, because they burned them out over here, and then they moved to where it's still thick. On this side they burned, so I had a guy out here with me about 4 months ago, came into town for the members camp out, and then we had to cancel it right when the hurricanes were coming. So I was like, well, you're already here, you know, just come on over, man. So he came for a couple days and stayed with us, and I took him out here. We had one in the cow pasture the first night. We couldn't even get in because it was like in the cow pasture. The next day we came out, and they were on that end. There's a group of them, man. It's not just one, man. There's a group of them out here, and there's one that's kind of like a juvenile. I was telling you, you know, he ran off over here screaming. Well, he just does that. He just screams. And we had him over here. He was running in circles, tearing shit up. And this guy was with me, was like, what the fuck? Because it sounds like a chimpanzee's like running on 2 legs, man, screaming its head off. It like, and it's loud.
That's what my wife, Kelly said. So it's probably just monkeys. I said, no.
They got human feet. Once you see the human feet, they're in. You know, I never even thought about this stuff before I met Mark, and it was just right away. The evidence in the field was overwhelming, and no denying it.
Down this professor's name.
Meldrum?
Yeah, Meldrum.
Yeah.
He's an expert in. He proved that those ridges on those prints are. They can't
Real.
be.
Yeah, they're real.
They're real.
Yeah, him and that Jimmy Chilcutt guy, that thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good spot, man. That's a good idea. I didn't even see that shit. Look at all this track where they're doing, babe.
Looks like they're doing some more to destroy
Like no rhyme
their
or
comfort
reason
in
for
this.
that to be done.
No.
Except that they're tearing more trees down too. They're definitely taking the trees
That's the whole
down.
thing.
There's absolutely no reason in a wildlife preserve to be doing that.
There's only one reason. They're trying to keep the Sasquatch back.
Yeah, man. If they can't hide, they won't be here. This is a good, and the thing is this piece of land right here is the primary turkey hunting spot.
Yeah.
And a premium turkey hunting spot. I mean, there's this corner, real here, like 3 acres of this corner. Turkeys used to roost all in these trees when we first, started coming out here, and there was constantly guys hunting out here, right?
Yep.
Does the season end in March, doesn't it?
Yeah. What is it? November to.
They have spring and then they have fall.
March is today, March
Yeah.
1.
Georgia, they only have spring.
It's like these trees. Why?
That's right. Today's my brother's birthday. Happy birthday, Z.
Why they cut those trees down?
It's Chris's birthday today.
Is it? That's right. March 1st.
That's right. Yeah. I texted him
Old
this morning,
bastard.
and I'm like, damn, another day older.
Yeah.
What's he, 47 now?
46, I think.
46?
Something like that.
I think he's a year old. I don't know. I'll be 46.
47, right.
Yeah, I'll be 46. He's always like a year and a half ahead of me.
Smell, and it kind of like mixes with.
Bar rag and shit.
Did you pick that up back there?
Yeah, I did.
Just a
Just a whiff, like going through the
somebody was
air,
around
breathing
at
through the
some
air.
point in the last couple of days. When you get close to them, the smell will intensify. If we're lucky enough.
Sometimes it makes you want to gag. It's so bad and strong. That's more the heat of the summer, though.
Watch the trail from in there. That's where Mel saw him. And it's funny because if you look off your corner, they stay just far enough behind where it's out of your peripheral. They're so friggin' smart, man. And she just happened to look back like this, and he was back over here.
And I
Like
showed
this, and
Mark.
when she looked back, he went like this.
You would think we could hear them.
And Mark got a great shot of him on
I got
camera.
his ass
It's a
on film,
great
too.
shot.
Crazy. Yeah, there's no point in trying to sneak around.
No, they know you're here.
Yeah, that's all like, looks good on camera, but it's ineffective, you know, from a research standpoint.
Exactly.
All morning there was a swamp buggy off in the prairie. They were shooting off guns, so we came down to the trail and we started walking this way. And the buggy was back again. It had been coming this way, but the whole time they were shooting and flooring it. And first of all, you're not allowed to ride with the motor on firing any weapons.
Yep.
That's just what it is, you know what I mean? And like, let alone flooring it all out of control. And they were fucking flooring it too, man. They were hauling ass. All of a sudden, a bunch of guns went off, and I was pulling at my buddy's strap on his, you know, one of the waist straps on his knapsack. I pulled at it because he was struggling with it, and the guns went off. I looked up, and this dude squeezed out of the bushes, man, flying through the air. Landed on this side of the trail, but it was down there. Huge humanoid, man. Huge humanoid. And I was like, holy shit, like I didn't think it was real. And then he turned, and then his feet turned. And the palm front was blocking him here, and I was looking at his legs, and he pulled the palm front down, shot me a dirty look. And I was like, holy shit! And when I looked back, he was gone. The bushes were moving, and they were shooting guns, right? So at the time, I thought, well, the hunters might have saw him and they were shooting at him, or he was trying to get out in front of them because they were driving a herd of hogs, so he could pick one of the hogs off. There's only two things it could have been. But now that I know that it was the FWC, because back then I thought it was just swamp buggy guys, you know what I mean? They're everywhere in Corbin area and shit, you know? But they're not allowed, so I know it was the FWC, and they were fucking shooting guns off, and that's not how they trap hogs. I personally have never seen, I know that they're supposed to do it, right? Kill the hogs when they see them, but I've never seen one do that. I've never seen FWC personnel firing their guns off at wildlife, regardless of whether it was invasive or anything.
Right.
So my thinking is now they saw his ass. They know they're here. They covered up our trackways. It was like the next day we came in, there were swamp buggies, and I'm like, shit. We walked down, and they had run over all the tracks. There were hundreds of tracks from 4 different Sasquatch, and they ran them all down. The next day we come back, and they're burning the area that the tracks led into. Right out here.
Strange.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no such thing as a coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that shit, you know. Not anymore, anyway. After I saw that thing, I was like, holy shit. A little bit of a slide, you know, as they either came down or came up. Good find. That's definitely something.
I can take my phone. I'll take.
This is where they hunt. It's the crossroads right here. 2 trails intersecting. They're always around here somewhere. You know, I always like to shoot footage when we first come up because they do like to take a look at you.
Yep. It's interesting that the ones in this neck of the woods in Florida, they stay low to the ground. If you get out in the Pacific West and even Missouri, they're more upright.
Yeah.
They don't crawl all over the ground like they do around here.
A little more monkeyish down here
Yeah.
in their behavior.
Well, if you notice, even on your own videos, they're always down low.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
hiding
Yeah.
in the bush. That's why bush Indian makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
In this corner right here, Mark and I were right over there doing some stuff. They were literally right back in this corner right here in the trees right here. It's wild.
Yeah, we got that one on film right there.
It's a really good shot too.
Oh, they'll let you walk right past them.
It's crazy.
And then, like, if you stop and screw around too long, they'll throw something. We've had rocks bouncing off these trees right over here, coming from in here. Not far either.
I wonder
But
if
at that point, you don't want to go busting in there.
No, I
You're
wonder
like,
if it'd
holy
be
shit, some just threw a rock.
Good idea to bring a dog that can alert you to something.
I don't think dogs are much use, man.
You know?
Not from what I've been hearing. I just interviewed a guy yesterday that has hunting dogs, and he's like, you know, the hunting dogs won't even go. It's like when they're around, they get out normally, like they're all excited because, you know,
And they're smart
set
enough.
loose, man.
Yeah.
And they turn into different dogs.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden they're like yelping and their ears go back and they get right back in the
I
truck
didn't know
or
that.
go back in the cage.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Which
Oh,
makes
yeah.
sense.
All over the country that's been happening for a long time, man. They've been tracking these things for a long time. There's some dogs, I guess, that, you know, for reasons I don't understand, have the exact opposite of behavior and they'll just track.
Mm-hmm.
And they've tracked them and shot at them and done all kinds of crazy shit. The law's done that.
A little trail here.
All right, let me just shoot this real quick because. And he was coming down the whole time. So he jumped from, I estimate, probably somewhere where this ditch is, cleared the tops of the brush that he was behind, and was coming down when I looked up. Made it all the way across the trail, and landed like it was nothing. And all of his muscles were like, boom, when he landed, you know. But he landed like on his tippy toes, though. And it was just, was so fucking impressive just to see it, you know what I mean? It was like, it took me a minute to actually believe it was real. Because I honestly, the first thing I thought was the government was playing tricks on us. You know, I was like, this isn't real, it's a hologram. All this
It's
shit,
a
I couldn't
hologram.
face it, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
and-
dude, how much time we spent out here? I never thought in my life I'd see some shit like that, you know? It was like, it just didn't seem possible, you know? But
Is this off to, like, this is only the management that uses this road? Like, we couldn't get a car down here?
Yeah,
no, they got it gated.
Oh,
You
can't
can
get
walk
through?
it though.
They
We've
got
walked it a
gated,
lot.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is also where the Mark got electrocuted. That night, that time we were at here at
and they
night.
knocked a tree down. We were standing right here, like week before Halloween, 2016, and we were right here. We had no lights on. We just had the cameras. And when we walked up, somebody shifted right here in the bushes, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then right then, crack, boom, boom. He pushed a tree down and took a giant, and boom, 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 boom. Took off running that way. We were like, holy shit. So I go over there, and then the rest is in the intro. If you watch the show, you see that night footage where I'm like, go! And Melanie runs. She came running back this way. Because there was another one, and he started taking off. And there was something in front of us. I couldn't get whatever it was on film for, I don't know what it was, but I was just coming out of like, something happened to me, man. I walked over here, and I was like, trying to get here quick, but like keep the footage stable. And I got like right about here. And my camera started fucking electrocuting like this. And then all of a sudden I started feeling tickles all in my chest. And then it went to like a heart attack fucking intensity. And my camera was fully disrupted. And the
You
feed
could
and
hear
shit.
it.
Yeah.
And she was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh shit, oh, and then you could hear them, all of them, and I was like, holy shit, and then it just stopped, and then that was when I saw this little head, about 30 feet. This all was shorter, right, Mel?
Yeah.
And then there was like this big bush, and this head was sticking out of the bush, and it went down real quick.
And that's
in the
when I was
flashlight,
running.
and that's on the show actually. When
You
I
can
go,
actually
"Go!"
see it if you look really
And we go
close.
chasing because it went this way, and we heard it tear off in the bushes, and we ran down that way.
Which episode is that?
Oh, that's the intro to the.
That's the intro to the show. It's on every show.
Oh,
And then there is an episode though that with the electrocution. I don't remember which one that it shows on camera. I don't remember which one it was though. it was
It's
pretty.
episode 3.
Is it episode 3?
Yeah, it's on the website. We'll get you all hooked up. Oh, Brian's got a membership too, man. I'll get you a membership, Mike.
Okay. I was telling Brian to tell Mark that on YouTube you only had audio, no visual on this one a week and a half ago.
Oh, really?
103 minutes and never got the picture, just audio. Yeah.
On the video itself, there was no
Nothing
picture,
on YouTube,
just audio?
the sound, yeah. I tried it on another TV to make sure there was something
See,
wrong.
they're really messing with our channel. It's unbelievable. They have like totally shut us down.
It's the one that was an hour and 3 minutes. It's like maybe 2 weeks ago now.
And that was only audio and no visual at all.
Right.
I'll have to tell Mark that.
Yeah, I thought Brian did.
I don't know if he did. That's really... Oh, wow.
There's a little den looking thing right there. Real thick bush, they'll hollow that shit out and get right in it.
Yeah, it looks like the little hollow out right there, actually.
This is the action right here. They're walking in the middle? That doesn't surprise me. I can see some impressions through this whole thing. Yeah?
The trackway that we found was back here.
Start around here. Start right here.
A couple buildings up there. You got this one here.
Oh yeah, here you go.
You got a good one?
Yeah, we got that same dude.
Look at this right here. You can almost see toes.
Yeah, we got trackway here. Here.
They're walking they're walking in the middle.
They know what they got to do.
Another one here.
In and out too.
A lot of coon tracks.
There's a good heel.
Yep.
Toes. Another heel here. Heel there. There's a big one there. I mean, and a human like us, we're gonna walk this. We're not gonna walk the center.
Yeah.
All right, look.
There's a
They
shotgun
cut
shell.
a new path to the fucking spot. We're gonna track today
Okay.
because we already got this. So let me go get my camera, and we're gonna continue on to where we find the trackways.
Okay. That's exciting. We haven't been back here in a while, so.
A human's not gonna walk the center.
But the trackway is about 200 yards up and then left that way. But this is where it started, kind of 200 yards up
There's one like was going this way. Heel. You see the
in feet. Yeah. Toes.
there's a shotgun shell.
And all the little spider webs. It's like artwork.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just when you drive down the road through Hungryland, when I was driving back and forth to Stewart, going out to their house,
Uh-huh.
there are freaking fields of them. You get to see that shit. And
It's
like, when the certain
wild.
sun on it, it's crazy looking.
But to me, like, you can actually really feel nature out here. They're just getting ready to destroy it all, man.
It's nice there's no bugs today.
It's kind of unusual. The mosquitoes get really bad out here.
I know.
So this is where he was when I was out here with Matt. He jumped out of that bush. We were standing right over there. It was like 11 o'clock. He jumped from in there, and you could hear him pass through the bushes real fast, like whoosh. And then there was like a split second or two, and he landed in the water. Huge dude landed in the water, and we were both like, "Oh shit!"
Is that
'Cause I was
nighttime?
going, "Rah!" And he was like, came out of those bushes. So we ran, and you could hear him coming, and then we set the audio recorder down, and it got real quiet. I was like, "Shit, this fucking thing is here, dude." it was crazy, man. And my buddy was like, "Yeah, man, I just want to go home," and I was like, "Well, we got to go down here. We got to check to see if he went this way," and he didn't want to go down there, but we went down there. And we got him again, and this time he was behind a tree, and he was squatted down, or he was sitting, and he stood up, and my buddy grabbed my shirt, and then he went and jumped, and you could hear him grunt and then land like 20 feet away, grunt,
and land like 20 feet away, and grunt in the third one, it was like 60 feet away, man, and I was trying to run after him, but he was all freaked out and shit. But he came from out of here. And you know how many times I shot that bush in 4 years? Because I know at some point there's one in there. That's one of their spots. You got all the game that comes through here.
Yeah.
So they're going to ambush it in the choke point. You see the choke point we just passed through. And you know, if you look at things from the hunter's standpoint, you'll know exactly where they can hide because they're always thinking like that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So they got to be close enough where they can bust out on something. And like, you know, if you just find those spots wherever you're at, never know what's going to be in those friggin' bushes. It's crazy. Come on, let's get this down. Let's get out here and see if they're, look, there's all kinds of tracks, man. Oh. They're going back and forth, man. The Bigfoot.
The one with the water in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see the toes. Looks like toes.
Yeah, that's
Wow. Hey, first time out with us, and you guys got trackways and shit, man. That's awesome. Hey, we're gonna track it down this way.
Oh, we're experts.
That's right. That's right. We're gonna track them down this way, but I don't want to miss anything that's in that mud
You want me
because
to go
where
over
the
there?
where the clean mud is, you're gonna see something spectacular. The toes, everything. You can see the you can see the you can see it all, man, in these tracks. We gotta look for that real. That's one of our barefoot hillbillies.
Yeah.
There.
More yeah, you can see the curve.
Yeah.
Foot.
This is probably the female. Probably the female. She's got a 14-incher, and it's been a couple years. She's fully grown.
You know what? That's funny because it was
Remember her?
it was a smaller a couple years
Oh,
ago,
you think? Okay.
and it definitely looks like she's grown.
It looks like
So it looks like the same foot, but
Another one.
They've
right
grown.
Here. Hard to see.
which
but
is obviously appropriate.
Oh, I don't think she's one of the juvenile ones. I think that's the mom. That's
yeah,
Junior's
that
mom.
looks like
I
a
think.
big one there.
There you go. Keep documenting those tracks, bro. Try to get them in a nice, even shot. with
Do you
the-
want?
First, the damn thing sounded like a little baby turkey. Right up and whoosh, stripped the bark off, all the sap. None of the sap was anywhere, and they were all bent down.
Can you take two on that, babe?
Yeah. The day after they burned this place, we went inside there and we found probably between 50 and 70 saplings that had been stripped, bent to the ground, and all the sap that was coming out of them was taken off. It was nowhere to be found, so we think they were basically eating the sap off the saplings because in the fire it'll heat the sap inside the tree and make it come out. I think they like that stuff. There's been like tons of reports right after they burn areas. Not just this one, all over the state of Florida. Whenever they do a controlled burn, there have been instances where people have been around it and then there's been Sasquatch sighted walking through or hanging out inside the burned areas. And I think that's why. I think a lot of these plants require fire in order to reproduce. The pines, there's certain species of tree. And so where it is natural, there's also opportunities for them to feed. The fire will kill off all kinds of stuff, man. And not only that, it'll run everything that's all the ground-dwelling mammals right out of it. So if they're on the right side of it, which is basically the forest corridor, you know what I mean? Yeah,
That's Sasquatch
it's gonna
candy
chase
right there.
everything out and
The
run 'em
Jamaicans
right
did that
to
in
'em.
Belglade, so watch them. They used to come and they burn the cane fields behind my house, and they have baseball bats, and the bunnies come and run out disoriented and whack them with a bat, tie their ears to their bicycle handlebars, and ride home with like 6 rabbits in the handlebars.
Same concept.
That's crazy.
Who learned from who? I don't know.
Exactly.
That's a trip, man.
I witnessed it with my own eyes. There's paintings of it, and I'm like, dude, I've seen that.
Well, I think they're doing the same thing over here when they burn. See, this is one of the things that we want to be able to use to catch them in the tree lines when they're far off. Because they just think you can't see that far, dude. You know what I'm saying? He could just be skirting that tree line, and then here I am, 2,000 yards off, man. I got your ass.
Yeah.
So this is a hell of a lot better than being in there with him.
Sure.
The Corbett area it's just claustrophobic. It's not fun at all. It's like, you know.
I've seen you tracking through some of that.
I think
pushing
it's
through
fun.
Cabbage palms. And
It's exciting.
It's exciting.
I'll
It's
hold up.
exciting, but when you're picking up your
It's
gear,
not fun
and
at
it's been
night
like
though.
real hot for a while, and
Yeah.
you're like, every time you go in there, it's nothing but shit in the bushes moving around and all this crazy stuff, and you're flying the drone and they're getting pissed and they're shaking trees or they're coming at you.
I'll go
You
there
don't
next-
you don't feel like picking up your shit. You know what I mean?
We'll go
Like
there
I just
next
don't
time.
feel like going today, man.
Next time we go, we'll go there.
That place is pretty cool, man. The biologists call it no man's land.
Do you ever go to section 4?
In the Corbett area?
Yeah.
You talking about way in the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did, as a matter of
Yeah,
fact.
we did.
There's something
Got some
going on
really
back in
freaky
there.
feelings over there.
Back there.
There's I think they're back there. We did document some stuff, didn't we?
Yeah, we
Well,
did.
it butts up to a private hunting area on private properties.
Yeah,
There's
you know how that,
corn.
you know that ditch with the little canal, and then on the other
Yeah,
side is the
and
hunting
there's
area.
corn all over there, so
Dude, we walked back there, and we were actually at the spill gates. And I was fishing the spill gates, and then I looked around and I went on the other side, and then there's the water and that canal on the back side that butts up against
Yep.
the hunting property.
that's private property.
I was standing there 10 seconds, and a giant dude walked through the bushes,
Yeah.
walked right up to the edge, and I thought he was going to come down the hill, and I kept going, Mel, Mel, and she was still too far back to hear me, you know, by the spill gates, and he came right up to the edge. I mean, dude, it was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You know, I don't know if it was a hunter. It didn't sound like a hunter. It sounded big.
Was it hunting season?
Yeah, there was a lot of people back in the section 4 area. But I was fishing. We fished that place. I took Chris there. I took Chris back there. I'm like, dude, I heard one. I know it. Because there's no way to get over that canal.
Yeah.
You can't get over that canal onto that property unless you go through the water.
Yeah.
Have you seen
there's
the tree
little
house?
canal, and it goes up, right? But if you go all the way back to the spill gates, you'll see that what you're not seeing is that 70-foot, 80-foot wide canal.
Right.
And that keeps people from going across there unless they got some kind of canoe or a boat, you know? So I never seen a boat back in that thing anywhere. I've been back there 7 or 8 times, 3 or 4 times with my brother, twice, 2 or 3 times with Melanie. And I'll tell you something, they're on that island back there, or whatever that is, that property you said. It's privately owned. You ever been on it?
No, I just know it's there.
I wonder who owns it.
You know, I wasn't motivated enough to figure that out because I kind of gave up hunting in Corbett, but
Well, I don't blame
one of
you.
the guys, Winn-Dixie meat manager, he and his father and his grandfather have been hunting there for decades.
So they know people.
They know everything.
Well, it's the
out there.
Winn-Dixie property, probably.
I don't
They
know.
still have them.
Yeah, I don't know.
They still have them back in there. If you say there's corn there, I'm all over that shit. See, we've been looking for crops. That's one of the things we look
No,
for.
they're feeder corn out
Oh, okay.
because it's a hunting club.
Okay.
So they got, you know,
So
The
they're
feeders are
they're
all-
raising deer up
they
there.
got feeders.
Okay,
So a
that's
lot
different.
of deer come to Corbett and they go over there and get in.
They
and
must
feed,
go right through the canal too.
Apparently.
Wow. Well, I mean, plus who
You know,
knows
they're
what
doing
that
it at
ties
night.
into.
And they're doing it at night.
Yeah,
They got those feeders at night.
yeah.
So you can't, you know, unless you're sitting.
See, that's a key area back in there. But the reality of what goes on in the Corbett area is we explored it, but it was more of like a day off because there's no reason for you to go anywhere but where we go. It's an absolute, there's no doubt about it. I've seen the fucking things in there. We had them up, we were riding a bike in there, me and Mel one day, and there was a dude on the other side of the canal in no man's land booking next to us. Booking next to us. And he was booking next to us for like a couple miles. And so I was like getting wise to it. And when we would stop and I'd listen, you'd hear him stop. Like, motherfucker. So I started going booking real fast, and when I heard him trying to catch up, I stopped, threw the bike down and ran down on the bank in a clear spot and looked like this. He came right through the bushes and went like that. And you could see his face change and everything. He went like that because I was staring right at the fucking spot where he poked his head out. And he went like this. He went. And then he went like this.
Yeah.
But it was fast.
Yeah.
Whoosh! And he took off. He was probably this tall.
Big.
Yeah, he was like probably a little more than that. He had a pointy head. He had a real sharp hairline.
And he had a chimpanzee face, but cold, light gray skin. And there was no hair on his face. He had a real long upper lip and real thin lips. And they were pursed, like that. And he had really, actually, a pointy nose with big nostrils. It looked weird, dude. And it wasn't all that big, the nose. The nostrils were wide. And he had a black stripe across his face. And his eye sockets, you know what I mean? His eye sockets looked like color of the like mud. Almost looked like he had mud wiped on him. But, you know, I can't say because I didn't see that close. But I've seen him in there 4 or 5 times, man. One time we got out of the car and I was putting a dip in and we were walking. And there's a canal from the parking lot separating no man's land. And we were walking up to it and we were getting ready to go out onto the levee to walk down. And I'm like looking, put a dip in. And the trees, the bushes are squared off and black. And I was like looking at it for a second, then all of a sudden it just fucking moved and it went like this and it was just standing there. And its head was probably, it looked weird, it looked like its head was sitting on top of his shoulders. I couldn't see, it was really black. I couldn't see the face and I was staring right at it. But it was so black that you couldn't make out anything. But then all of a sudden I saw the hand come out like this a little bit in the gap. And the arm was hanging down probably like about here. But it was real squared off, so the figure I saw was like this, pointy. And then it went and it squared off and I saw this arm. And there was hair hanging past the hand. And he went like this, like twice. And on the 3rd time, he turned and I was like, holy shit! And that's when Melanie comes running up and then you could hear him, boosh, 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 running off back in there. We were like, holy shit, dude, because we were at the parking lot, you know? Yeah. One of them we tracked at the trailer.
Yeah,
Well,
that
I
was
tell you about that?
wild.
Check-in trailer?
I told you they were right up front.
Oh, up front?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was standing behind a bush. My take on the sign is this. We walked in, parked, and I go, let's check this trail out. What is it, 14?
I don't know.
Right there at the front. Whatever trail that is.
Clear prints.
He was standing behind a bush, came out like this. We come walking in, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, damn, and I go over there. So he's standing there looking at the check-in trailer right across the parking lot. And I'm looking, and I don't see any tracks. It's a good-sized track, man. Barefoot, 14-incher. And then the next track was 1, and it was 12 feet away, going the opposite direction. So what I got out of it was that he was standing there checking the trailer out, probably around dawn, because they were that morning. You know, they were still wet. And a truck came in, or was coming out, and he bounded, landed on his left foot, without making another impression, jumped another 10 or 11 feet, and then got on his hands. And for 100 yards, I had inline tracks with 80 to 90 inches in between each one, left and right, and knuckle prints and handprints. And then he went all the way in on the trail, and if you go on that trail, you'll see it goes in about 100 yards and it turns a corner. Second he rounded the corner, he stood up and walked with a 66-inch stride, 1 foot in front of the other. From the trailer.
I'm surprised. All the people I know that hunt there, they never seen nothing.
It's crazy.
Brian?
Well, they're usually down in the mud somewhere.
Yeah, but if you follow the hog tracks generally, you're going to get somewhere and find the hogs.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like reliable. That's the one thing I've learned about tracking over the years is that if you pursue it long enough, the trail, and you make sure you continue to catch enough sign to lead you in the right direction, you'll end up finding whatever's leading those tracks, man.
You ever see scat?
Oh yeah, last time we were here we got a sample. Fresh too, right?
Yeah, we
Mel?
got samples from
Gross.
Corbett too.
Mucus covered,
Wow.
primate looking, smelled like human shit.
Huh.
Yeah, nobody was out there, you know.
Might
And there were
be-
tracks around, you know, barefoot. But yeah, we got all kinds of stuff, man.
What'd you do with it? Did you freeze it?
It's in our freezer.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the day when people wake up enough and they're, you know, right now it's accepted in the genomic database. They got it in there.
Yeah.
Ketchum's sample got accepted, so we have something to compare it to.
Cool.
The problem is where the testing is concerned, it's super expensive, and really, it takes people to put money into it, and that's where we're lacking, right? Like the whole community that finds evidence, there's only 1 or 2 people that'll test it, and they're so bogged down with samples.
Sure.
There's not enough money. Right now, I think Ketchum's looking for 50 grand to finish testing these Dogman DNAs that she has But she says she's got complete genomes right now from the dog man that she can show it's real.
Wow.
Upright walking canines, man.
That's freaking
Yeah,
crazy.
I've seen video of them. Look at this fucking thing.
Cryptozoology just got wackier.
Were you standing there?
I don't know. What you guys saw?
Yeah, well, we're in Hungry Land, and is it Martin County?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Martin County.
Martin County. We've been just looking at the trails and looking for sign, and found a lot of tracks.
A lot of tracks. Definitely.
They're not human.
That there's a barefoot human walking around with their kids and
Yeah.
having a good time out in the swamp with the snakes.
That's right.
But,
That's right. Found a couple big ones.
Yeah, big ones, small ones, medium ones.
Yeah.
Questionable, knocked over, brush, trees, branches, stuff that,
Yeah. I wasn't sure we were going to get anything, but we definitely got a lot today.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is the first time that we've been able to get out here because normally it's 2.5 feet deep and the tracking's horrible.
Yeah.
But with the water levels down a little bit, I'm kind of surprised because we've had a lot of rain.
Yeah, last week we had a couple
But this is where we found the other 6 trackways. So technically, this is the 7th time in 4 years. Now we're in our 5th year. So year 5, we're still finding the same 4 individuals. And this time I managed to get 3 of them, and a big female this time, and then one of the toddlers. And it looks like the toddler's track has gotten
Is growing.
an inch or 2 bigger. Crypto Reality in the Bigfoot Researchers Journal is brought to you by Cannabis.com. Real, reliable, non-addictive pain relief. If you live in chronic pain, Cannabis.com can help. Visit the site today and find out how. So if you listen carefully, what you hear is a boom coming back, and I've been hearing that sound and making that particular sound all over the state of Florida and getting responses. Right, whatever it is that's responding walks on 2 legs, and is if they're around in our research areas where I've seen them or where we've documented them. They usually respond, and for one reason or another. In the beginning, when we started going into our first research area, we used to hear that sound on both sides of us, from 50 to 75 yards away on each side. One would go like this. As soon as we got on the trail, you'd hear it like clear as a bell, and then you'd hear one over on this side, and the next thing you know, there would be walking. And so that's one of the techniques that I use. If I do use any kind of audio, I usually use something aggressive, or I'll use that familiar sound. It's not. It took me a while to try to emulate it, but I think it's them. I think it's one of the ways they warn each other that humans are around. So, and I think that because I get a response usually, and I think that. I've gotten responses off of other types of, aggressive vocalizations. But that one, if they're around, they seem to respond to it. And you can hear it off in the distance. The audio is not superior, but you can hear it. And I've got other films right now with that same sound in it. We got that sound 60 miles away in our creek bed spot. There's a video on YouTube and on the website right now where you can hear me make that call and it comes back. And sometimes it's a low frequency call and you can't hear it or really make out what it was. You notice something, but then the cameras and the audio equipment picks it up.
That's what happened with us on Sunday. We all heard something, and it was coming off from that direction, but we couldn't quite discern what it was. It was immediate, and the cameras recorded it. Mbo. Mbo. Shit up right here. See a little pile of horizontal. Yeah, there's a broken tree right there. That broken tree. Yeah, right in the center right there.
Yep.
Then they pile up the top of it right here. And they're watching this trail for whatever reason. Jack and I went down in the ditch.
Those cows are right there.
Roars, and from about 1,000 yards over that way, King Kong let off a roar, dude. And the both of us were like, oh shit. And then stuff started happening. Over the course of about 15 minutes, you could hear the brush popping, moving in. First it was far away, so we were like, are we hearing this? You know what I mean? Then it got closer. And then right down in here on the end of these saw palmettos right there, we hear plain as, it was like that loud.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and Jack goes, what the fuck? So I went 3 times, and he did it again, then took off screaming from right there.
Yeah.
He ran back that way and ran in a circle around those palms where we couldn't see him. I jumped up, and I'm like standing there going, what the fuck? And it went on for like 2 minutes. I filmed the whole thing.
Wow.
It was so loud, and you could hear this guy.
Episode 3?
No. This is the one when I had Jack in town. But the
definitely
day
see.
Jack got here, the power surges in our house blew my audio channels. Me and Jack were, I mean, dude, I interviewed the guy about it.
So
I
you
mean,
lost all that audio?
That's on YouTube.
I have no audio of any of it. The roar, none of it. I was filming the whole time, freaking. I was filming when the big one in the cow pasture the night before went, whoa, like that. And we were like, oh, fuck. And we turned around and left. But I didn't know. I did not know.
Yeah. Did you guys just hear something over there?
Like a rah, 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 some kind of thing.
When you were talking?
How deep is this?
It's like over your knee, mud, suck the boot right off your foot. Probably not yours, but it'll get down
And
in.
that's where your snakes
There's
are.
a crossover down there. I've been back in there 100 times.
Yeah.
Me and Melanie been in there.
That's where we found one of the
shit.
one of the biggest tracks back in there.
Yeah. All right, B, introduce yourself and tell us about your experience and what you saw driving back in through Mayaka.
Hey everybody, this is Captain Brian Rogers. I came out Mark and Melanie today. Definitely heard a few noises. Found lots of tracks. Area that Mark said has been, flooded for a while now. And walked through there, and it seems like the same group he's followed here for years is still around. Seemed like we found smaller prints and bigger prints, female, the different sizes, different shapes. And it's definitely got the feeling out here that we're being watched, and heard a few noises in the brush. So definitely a good experience for the day. And then, I've been friends with Mark for years. I've known him since I was a teenager, high school, just long time friend. And I didn't even know I hadn't been in touch with him, but I saw him on YouTube and we met up. And, it's funny because the first show I saw of Mark about his son was a sighting in Miaka. My parents used to live in Venice, Florida. I lived on the East Coast. And, I'd drive that way on the way home. I usually left right after dinner, right before dusk. And I was heading through, just past the state park, the entrance to the left, was heading back east. And as I crossed the bridge that has the creek that flows through to Little Miaka Lake, I was looking more to the left at first. I've seen game there, I've seen gators, I've seen deer. So I was looking left, and just right before I, came up on the tree line to the right, I looked to the right and I saw just a tall figure. It was 3 to 5 second sighting probably. It was fast. I stopped and reversed and I tried to see it again and it wasn't there. But what I saw was, for the distance it had height to it. Definitely wasn't a bear. I know bears can walk on their back feet, but its hands were, it had a big arm movement, and they were almost to his knees. And it came off, it was like a point of the tree line there. And it looked like he was walking back towards the main the main artery of the woods there, back at the hiding, and that's what I saw. And then when I saw him, I was like, well, that's ironic because I've seen stuff there too, for sure.
What color was it? What you saw?
It was dusk. It was definitely dark. It was a dark, darker brown or a blackish color. It was definitely
Shoulders?
Oh, it had broad shoulders. It had, its height. It's hard to tell from a distance, but I imagine if I saw a normal-sized human being over there, it would have looked a lot smaller. I mean, unless there's an NBA player looking for his basketball in a ghillie suit in Miyake State Park. I mean, it was a tall figure. It was big. It was, it was.
What do you think it was?
I think it's a Bigfoot. I really do. I've always believed in them. I mean, to me personally, there's too much scientific data now, especially before, not so much. But people like Mark and other people who have put time in the field and put forth an effort to prove this. And another thing I really look into and I respect is the native Indians. And there's over 100 tribes who have a name for this creature: Bushman, Brushman, the man in the woods. Nobody was in touch more with Earth than the native Indians. They lived in it 24/7, 365 days a year. They knew everything. They were out in it. They lived in the element. They hunted in the element. They protected it too, because that was their land. They loved their land, and they knew what was around them.
Seen some good tracks today?
Oh yeah, saw some great tracks. Saw some definitely. It was a little muddy out there. Didn't see anything dry really, but we saw a lot of imprints with water in them. Definitely had toe definition. Bigger ones, medium-sized ones. There's a small one that seemed to be falling them off to the side.
Barefoot.
Oh yeah, definitely barefoot. I mean, you see what I'm wearing. I wouldn't dare walk out there barefoot. I mean, I got my snake boots on to go almost to my knees, and there's something's out there walking around barefoot. And, I mean, that's not questionable when you see a barefoot print with a definite, you can tell where their heel dug in. It's it's undeniable. It's proof. It's evidence that something's out there walking around barefoot in the slough and the swamp, and
in the exact spot I saw it.
Yeah, exact spot where Mark's had sightings, and it's got pictures, and so.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming, Mike. What about you, man?
Same right on everything Brian said. I agree with.
What about the tracks, man?
Yeah, I'm impressed. I didn't expect that we'd be that lucky. So they were definitive and irrefutable.
And numerous ones of them.
Oh yeah, many tracks.
Yeah, man. We probably saw over 100 tracks today.
Easily.
Yeah.
Unexplainable other than the truth.
Barefoot. I saw 3 different individuals and of the same, right around the same size track, between 11 and 13 inches, and then that one female track was probably 15, man.
Yep.
And that other one was about 4.5 to 5 that was walking with her.
Yep.
All of them barefoot.
Wasn't a coincidence.
Crypto Reality in the Bigfoot Researchers Journal is brought to you by Cannabis.com. Real, reliable, non-addictive pain relief. If you live in chronic pain, Cannabis.com can help. Visit the site today and find out how.